Hi, welcome to my Sleep Routine Live. Today we are going to follow up on what we talked yesterday about why it's important to track sleep. But today we're going to focus on finding out your chronotype. So while it may take some time to experiment different type of tools for sleep tracking, one thing that it is always fundamental to know to improve your sleep is what's your chronotype. If you're familiar with it, great, all power to you, and I hope you take advantage of the information you gleaned through that. And so hopefully that will double up the benefit of your sleep tracking. But if you're not, chronotype basically there's a good amount of scientific foundation to that, but the system essentially categorize human into three, or depends on the methodology, four types. But to talk briefly about it, so each of the, let's say, use three as an example. They typically use an animal name, for example, a wolf for the people who get up early, an owl who goes, yes, owl who stay up late, and bear who rise with the sun, goes home at night, or goes to sleep at night. So those are the three types. And there's another type, I think was developed because as people realize there's another group of people that doesn't fit neatly into any of the three groups, so they call them dolphin. So as you may know, dolphins don't really take a block of time just floating around in water sleeping. They actually swim. So they alternating the side of the brain, so they always stay awake at time, and at the same time they can be sleeping. So that's dolphin. I don't believe human does that in particular, but it's for those people who could stay wake and sleep for let's call it an irregular amount of time. So those are the four types. The question is, why do you even want to know it, right? So most of us live just fine without knowing it, but why do we, or should we, know about it? So the short answer, I would say two. There are obviously benefits, right? For scientists to develop it, to analyze it, because then use that to help guide different people to improve their health. But for you and me, who are the sleepers, so I would say there are basically two. One is really trying to focus on, okay, if I am the type, which personally called bear, so I will get up when the sun comes up, I will go to bed. When the sun goes to bed, I probably wouldn't have too much of a problem. Although I don't do that exactly, but I don't have to get up super early and go to bed super early, or vice versa. I could do either way, but that's not preferred. So reason number one is knowing your type. Then you can plan your sleep routine. So if you are a early riser, asking you to go to bed late or have a late routine, that's certainly not helpful. And to the contrary is not ideal either, right? So that's the so that we'll focus our attention, our energy, our routine to optimize the day, optimize the sleep, and long-term optimize our health and wellness. So number two is knowing that your type actually helps two things simultaneously. One is your eating pattern. So your different chronotype do eat differently, and not just the amount, but in terms of liquid composition and food composition, include the type of things that tend to be eaten. There's a pattern, right? So those knowledge is already there. So if you identify with a particular kind of chronotype, that will really help you to understand, to see more of, oh, now I get it, right? So I can see my pattern beyond just a sleep. Remember I said previously, we use sleep tracking as a window into our health and wellness yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? So that's number one. Your chronotype could help you with your eating. The second is knowing your chronotype. You actually will gradually find out each chronotype has a peak performance hour. And that peak performance include we typically think about performance as productivity, get some of the email out, get some of the project done. But beyond that, the chronotype during those hours, they're great productivity. But more importantly, conversely, outside of those hours, we actually, let's call it not peak performance, but the non-peak performance include like emotional, mental, physical. So, that could mean those hours, you probably couldn't solve a relationship more effective, right? So if you have an important conversation with your spouse, maybe move it some other time, not at your tiredest time. Give the rest of you to your spouse, and that would be helpful. So the same thing with mental health, the same thing with, if you do exercise. So knowing your chronotype gives you an insight into your overall domain of your performance, or peak performance, non-peak performance. And before you go to bed, it could be really bad. And personally, I know I'm become really irritable, right, in a certain time. So anyway, so that's a very long conversation about chronotype and why you should look into what your chronotype is. And so hopefully that's helpful. Anyway, if you want more information about how to get your chronotype, just go to sleep.longevitable.com. Sleep.longevitable.com. And there should be a link about your chronotype. All right. So with that, my cough is doing better today. Hopefully, well, I'm glad it held up so far, and I wasn't like this morning. So thank you for watching. Have a great night, and I will do the sleep routine next. So have a wonderful night. See you next time.